Maplestory 2 recently announced that they are shutting down. That is only after 2.5 years with very positive reviews, which will now drop of course. Me and some friends spent quite some time on it. Personally I sunk 169 hours in it, and that is rather rare, especially since it was one single run I did and I didn't come back later. So what is the problem with Maplestory 2? The graphics are indeed appealing and the gameplay is simply endearing and very unique. Those were absolutely not the problem. In fact, those were the aspects that would attract players rather than to cast them away. Let's get back in time a bit. Maplestory 2 had a predecessor, Maplestory 1, which was released in 2003 and published by Nexon. It was a great success and loved by the fans. But sometimes I think everything Nexon touches is cursed one way or the other. The concept of their games are unique. Think about Atlantic Online. It had a great run originally, was a beautiful concept, but as soon as Nexon took over, they had no idea how to keep the players. They promised to improve the game, but throw in every possible microtransaction and cash grab instead. And players excitingly come back to the game just to abandon it faster than they could. See the gameplay being appealing but never satisfying. Why do still successful publishers suddenly close the doors? Surely they will still get more income from their micro intrusions than the cost of their servers are. Is something forcing them, like for example when War Portal closed down all Dragon Saga, Ragnarok and Rose Online games in certain areas, which was mainly due to the European General Data Protection Regulation Act in 2018. Developers rather avoid rebuilding their old games to comply with the new laws, especially when they bought it from a company who actually knew how to develop it, and just try to make money of it by adding microtransactions. Oh wait, Nexon does that all the time. However, if we look at the closure message, this is actually exactly happening as well. They simply have no idea how to keep the players. The progress to endgame is very captivating. It's a mix of 25% anime, 60% story and conversation, and 15% skull bashing. And the road to endgame can take anywhere from 10 to 100 hours for an average player. A lot of players like to quickly click through the text without reading, and believe me, nearly all my friends did, while another group really enjoys the actual story. Also, they did add a lot of side elements like housing, etc., which was pretty well done. Those are not a problem and will give many players a good chunk of game time, more than the average game. But as soon as you hit endgame, you end up in a gruesomely boring drag of doing the same dungeons over and over and over just to get that purple gear. You don't have any new content, no new cutscenes, which you enjoy so much, no new storylines, and this is where people do two things. Either they make a new char, or they stop playing. At first the endgame was just a few bosses, and later they added a second class, which wasn't really much more than add a new talent tree and put a 2 after your title. Adding a little bit of RPG by being able to split classes, like for example Rose Online, would be so much more fun. The shop is closed now of course, but was built up mostly out of speed up items, fashion items and things that automated lifestyle processed so you wouldn't develop carpal tunnel clicking on things endlessly. Of course, those things could be built in automatically, but why would you if you can make money of it? So not really pay to win, which is normally a good thing. However, in this case it blocked everyone's progress, so you did miss out on most players who need instant gratification and are willing to buy it, so they don't have to grind for it. So in short, endgame was a dull grind and people couldn't even buy their way out of it, so they lost most of their players in a very short time. All my friends stopped playing exactly there, including me. And it's not their fault either, it's the game design. If they want to keep players longer, they would have slowed the path to endgame a lot, add more content in between, and for endgame a lot more dungeons, more bosses, more diversity and events. Tons of events with new stories, unique items. This way over time you can slow down progress a lot. Still, with that base they had no reason to shut down after only 2.5 years. They can still add new areas, expansions and so much more. There's no way their business model was that bad. However, maybe with the global pandemic, etc., I think more companies will fall. They most likely had to lay off people, and the income from Maplestory had dropped slowly as the amount of players lessened. Most likely this branch is closing doors to save money, posting something out of the blue on 18th of March and closing only 2 months later is a very short notice for such a massive game. It is sad to see them go. I did have a great time, but you can still play Maplestory on phone, and I think one is still up and running. So I hope you liked the video, subscribe if you haven't done for more amazing content, and have a great time. Bye!
Not enough stamina. Need more stamina.